Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. So, today I actually wanted to talk about this sort of like psychological, emotional hoo ha of weight loss and particularly fat loss. I want to preface this video by saying that I'm making this because I've been watching so many people talk about weight loss. And I do want to make a video where I talk about people who are sharing their weight loss stories and where we can kind of see some of the trends. I know I'm crazy. I am a little, I'm kind of branching out a bit from just the FA talking points because, as I've said many times, I really want to solve this issue. Like, truly, honestly. And I think that it's really important to talk about other issues involved in fat loss and also, to a certain extent, why a lot of these FA talking points are so successful. As somebody who is currently losing weight, as somebody who will be brutally honest and not just have this sort of leaven light story of weight loss, like I see with a lot of people where they tend to have like very, very optimistic views on weight loss, which I think has its place. Absolutely, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think it's important to talk about the other side of it because there are different kinds of people in this world. And if you're someone like me, I'm sure that you've watched a lot of people that have successfully lost weight talk about how amazing it is. Then you try to do it yourself and then you feel horrible. So I'm trying to be here and tell you, yeah, you're not alone in feeling horrible. Also, let's look at what these type of articles are saying and why it's effective. Like, it's time to get a little brutally honest here. Now, just as another disclaimer, I am still currently figuring out technology, so if something messes up on this stream, I'm very sorry. Or it's not really a stream, it's a video. But I tried to change my settings around. I'm trying really hard. But we're going to just get through this, okay? We're learning together. Okay. So this is an article on healthline.com. It's called, "For many people, especially women, weight loss is not a happy ending. Losing weight can cause people to stop trusting their bodies." I do want to say I find it interesting that this article is targeting women. I also want to ask the question, oh my gosh, these other articles are horrible. Anyways, let's not focus on that. So I want to ask the question, why do you think they target women so much? That's something I want to ask you guys in the crowd, in the comments. I want to know what your thoughts on that are because I do find it interesting with this little picture of this sort of thin person inside of you vibe. So this article is by Julie Fraga, I guess. I don't know how to pronounce the name, but apparently it's been medically reviewed. So let's go ahead and get into it. From diet plans, pills, fitness packages, and juice cleanses, Americans spend millions of dollars on weight loss products each year. Okay, we're already starting. Even this one sentence, it tells me that this is going to be FA-ish as an article because, again, it's very convenient to ignore all the ways that people make money off of somebody being fat, which there are many, many more ways of making money. Unfortunately, our culture's pervasive message that a smaller body shape and size can make us happier, more attractive, and more confident causes many of us to romanticize the upsides of weight loss. People often imagine that by losing weight, they'll magically transform their lives. But believe it or not, research suggests there's a dark side to dieting. So this is why I wanted to talk about this, because there are a lot of people that do act as if it is just this amazing process and it's totally great. And again, people only talk about the upsides of weight loss. I don't mean to call out, oops, my video is being weird. Hopefully it'll be okay. I don't mean to call out anyone in particular But like a great example of somebody that's very famous is somebody like Michelle McDaniel, where she kind of just talks about that sort of thing. And she just talks about like how amazing it was that she lost weight and how she just had to like get her calories down and there really was no downside. And they just, it's like a lot of them say this type of stuff where it's like, I just loved food so much and I had to start changing. And they make a lot of the struggles and a lot of the stuff just about the eating, just about overeating, which that's a major part of it. But I do think for a lot of people, maybe people that are more emotional, like I did see Michelle McDaniel, she noted Jillian Michaels as one of her motivators, which no hate, right? But I just think it's only a certain kind of person that would be motivated by Jillian Michaels. Like I would not be. If Jillian Michaels was yelling at me, I think I would literally start a fight with her. Like I probably would start fighting with her. And it would just distract from the workout and it would just get ugly. Like it would be stupid. And so I don't know, like to each their own. But again, I kind of want to talk about a lot of us that maybe are more emotional, maybe a little bit more reactive. Maybe, we do feel things in our body. Maybe we're a bit more sensitive to that kind of stuff. And once again, that's why I'm talking about this, because I do agree. And that's why this type of article comes in, it swoops in like a little hero to stop people like me and you, if you're like me, from losing weight. Because this gives you this sort of out or this sort of feeling that these feelings that you feel are valid, and therefore you don't have to lose weight, and therefore you shouldn't. So let's go ahead and see what else they say. Individuals who lost 5% of their body weight over the course of 4 years were more likely to feel depressed. That is a super random statistic. 5% of your body weight. So 5% of my body weight at around 380 would have been not very much. I'm just kidding. 5%. This is where I have to try to use math. So if 10% would be 38, then 5% would be half of that. So that would be 19. So I definitely have lost over 19 pounds over 4 years. I have lost about 54 as of now in 2 years, and I do feel depressed. Because that's the other part. A lot of you guys, a lot of people within the audiences of these people do not like it if you don't romanticize weight loss or you don't talk about how you feel in a negative light. A lot of the audience and people like that do not like it. And so a lot of people have a financial and a sort of cultural incentive to not be honest about every aspect of weight loss, in my opinion. And so whether it just didn't affect other people in the same way or whether it's something that they maybe didn't talk about as much because either they don't remember it or because the audience wouldn't like it. There's pressure there, right? So let's continue. One 2013 study conducted by researchers at North Carolina State University found that when one partner lost weight, the relationship suffered. I am definitely in that statistic. I suffered a pretty harsh breakup in April of this year. And I hadn't even lost that much weight at that time. I only lost like 30 pounds or so. And I still had that happen. So the researchers discovered that a partner's weight loss could make the non-dieting partner feel jealous and more insecure about their partnership. I don't know about that. I think that it's very complicated. And so I'm not going to say that that's why the relationship didn't work out. But I think that there are certain things within somebody who is morbidly obese where maybe certain things are okay, or you just kind of let things slide, or you don't address things as much, because a lot of times if you're very unhealthy, you can't focus on those things. Add to that the fact that there is a bit of melancholia, as Taylor would say, within weight loss. And as you get better, you start to have energy and time to focus on other things, including relationship issues. And I think it's more likely that relationships can sometimes fall apart because of that shift. Because a lot of times a partner that was not super overweight in a relationship, they get used to things being easier. They get used to not having to put certain effort, or they get used to things not changing as much. They get used to that sort of stability. And so when a really overweight person like myself starts losing weight, starts getting healthier, starts viewing things differently, it can put a lot of strain and stress on a relationship. And the issues that were already there can then be addressed. And sometimes it doesn't always work out. And that's what I think it is. But it's still a major thing that I don't think people talk about. It's a fact that when you do lose weight, it can put your relationship in danger. It's a possibility, and I don't think it helps to lie to people about it. That's another negative thing about losing weight. Is it better to be single than dead? Absolutely. I will say that forever. Does that mean that it's not hard? No, it doesn't. It still sucks. I definitely wish things were different, but I'm not going to die, and I don't regret addressing things that I should have addressed earlier. It's tough. It's really hard. So like I said, I think I would say it's definitely easier when you're single to lose weight. I know that that's horrible to say, but I'm just going to keep it 100. They also found that when partners' weight loss goals did not align, the dieting partner became frustrated, feeling like their significant other was not dedicated to shedding the weight. I could definitely see that being an issue. I didn't really see that being an issue in my situation, but I can definitely see that being a problem. However, I still think it's more complicated than that. That's my honest opinion, usually. Other studies caution that weight loss can dampen people's moods. So this, I will say, absolutely. This is happening to me. The issue with this statement, though, is that they act like you are sunny and rosy when you are super morbidly obese or morbidly obese, and usually people are not. However, it does tend to get worse when you're actively burning fat. And so sometimes within weight loss, you have to take an L to get a W overall. So being in a deficit and going through what I'm going through, my mood is 100% dampened compared to if I was just doing my thyroid protocol and doing it at maintenance. However, being morbidly obese, my mood is more dampened forever unless if I get the weight off. So I don't like the way that this is framed, and you can see the manipulation tactic in this statement. They always portray being fat as rosy. I don't do that either. We're not rosy here. We're real. We're getting real. It's horrible either way. That's the truth, and it sucks. It really does. A study cited by Business Insider discovered that individuals who lost 5% of their body weight over the course of 4 years were more likely to feel depressed than those who maintained their weight during that same time frame. For years, Selby tried numerous weight loss plans, but as the pounds melted off, she felt worse, not better. I concur. I feel like the more weight I'm losing this spring and going into summer, in a lot of ways, I feel more and more depressed as time goes on. It doesn't help to lie about that. I have to be honest about it. It's true. It is complicated, however. Things go up and down. if I consider things on a month-by-month basis in my mind, it is slowly inching upwards, but it's going up and around and up and around and down and up and around and down. And over time, it's getting better slowly. And I think a lot of times the fat loss, it can make it difficult to sort of focus or remember where you came from. And so I think when they do these studies, there is a sort of probably bias within the research where people don't remember how they felt before. Typically, they felt worse, but that doesn't mean that they feel great after weight loss. It's complicated. The pursuit of weight loss is more damaging than high weight itself, says Linda Bacon, PhD, numerous associate nutritionist. Yeah, she's famous in the fat acceptance space. Author of the book Health at Every Size. So again, this is definitely false. So this is a huge amount of lying, a huge amount of gaslighting within this article and within, the quotations of this. That is not true. If you have high weight, you feel horrible either way. And I think that that's the thing that people don't get. Would you rather be single or dead? Would you rather be depressed being super morbidly obese or depressed while losing weight? In a lot of cases, these are our options. And this is just a huge lie. It's a huge gaslight and it's deadly. According to Bacon, losing weight requires people to stop trusting their bodies, which results in ill health. That's not true at all. So I don't understand this mindset. I think that they're talking about a very specific type of person who loses weight or a very specific mindset while losing weight. I do not advocate for this whatsoever. I think it's incredibly important to foster a very strong relationship with your body as you're losing weight. It is extremely important to pay attention to what macronutrients your body wants. I often talk about the thyroid protocol that I do, where I focus a lot on excluding seed oils from my diet. And when it comes to saturated fats, proteins, carbs, nutrients, different kinds of things that are within my framework, I will listen to my body. There are days when I want more protein, days when I want more carbs, days when I want more fat. I listen to my body in a very, very intuitive way because I spent so many years not listening to my body because I felt so miserable. I would try to block out the sensations of my body. But no more. We listen to my body here, or not just mine, but I advocate for listening to our bodies on this channel. I think that's extremely important, and it's extremely important for people who tend to be more sensitive, maybe more emotional, maybe more reactive, right? These kinds of people like me, we need to pay attention to our body, but that doesn't mean that we listen to this fat acceptance hoo-ha, okay? At the end of the day, it's about being in a deficit. And you have to figure out a way to be in a deficit without your body feeling like it's dying. Because at the end of the day, when you are losing the fat, there are certain changes that happen in the brain and it will still make you feel depressed regardless. I've felt that. I felt this depression when I was keto. I felt this depression when I was paleo. And I feel this depression on this thyroid protocol with calorie counting. It's the same. Absolute same. I feel it with the fat loss. I've realized it has a lot of these sort of psychological feelings. They come from the fat loss itself. It doesn't even just come from a diet. Now, the diet that I'm on now, it's much more sustainable and I feel much better on it than when I was keto or paleo or vegan or whatever the hell I tried. I feel much better, much less hungry, which is really important. And that's really what this protocol is about, is getting the hunger down and making it more sustainable just to be in a deficit. But it doesn't save you from everything. And it hasn't saved me from the feelings of depression that I felt with every weight loss attempt. Okay, Dieting can make you feel worse about your body. Yes. Once again, there are hormonal factors at play. I truly, I've been researching about serotonin in obesity, and I think there are a lot of shifts in serotonin throughout a weight loss process, whether it's going up or down or around. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. I think scientists really need to study the hormone serotonin in regards to fat burning, because I think major things happen with that as you lose fat. And so please, if you are a scientist, I beg of you, please study this. Like, this is a huge factor in the obesity crisis, I guarantee you. Okay, anyways. Years of dieting only worsened how Eliza Selby, 49, a feminist transformational coach in San Francisco, California, felt about her body. Selby tried many diets before she realized that the cause of her unhappiness stemmed from not feeling good enough about herself. Okay, that's a little cheesy to me. Dieting limits the happy chemicals in our brain, which can affect our mood. I hope they talk about that more. I hope that isn't just a statement that they just throw out there and leave. My journey to love my body has been a struggle, she reflects. For years, Selby tried numerous weight loss plans, but as the pounds melted off, she felt worse, not better. So I have a theory, and this is a theory. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, but I am somebody who is morbidly obese, even super morbidly obese if you go by body fat percentage, and I am currently losing weight. And I have a theory that as you lose weight, your serotonin and just these kinds of things, it shifts and you start to experience shame more. And I think a lot of people take this as a very negative thing. It can be. It's difficult, but it also helps because as I've felt more shame, like there were a lot of years throughout my illness where I felt very shameless and I did crazy things. And so the more shame I feel, the more stable I act, and it actually helps with my relationships with other people and possibly even with you guys as my audience. So I do think that this is really important to talk about. In general, shame not necessarily always being a bad thing. I think you start to lose the hypohase as you lose weight. I talk about this a lot, and so you kind of see your body as it really is, and you see things as they really are. And that does include relationships, it includes yourself. You kind of lose this rose-colored glass view of life, or this, hazy view of life. And so I find myself definitely getting a bit more self-critical as I lose weight. I see my body probably as other people do. Because when you're really big, you kind of just ignore it. And that's what a lot of these fat activists, they advocate for. They advocate for ignoring the negative feelings they have about their body. My journey to love my body has been a struggle. I diet, lose weight, and then feel terrible about myself again. It was exhausting. See? Selby believed that losing weight would raise her feelings of self-worth. I placed my value as a human in the world on the size of my body. So I don't know if that's really what it is. Like I said, I think it's this sort of returning to shame. It's something I've noticed in myself as I've approached this weight at different times in my life. I've felt more shame. And as I would get bigger than this, I would lose my shame. And so I think a lot of people may perceive these feelings as self-love, but it's actually a part of your brain no longer working. I know that that's probably really brutal to say, but that's my honest hypothesis. And by all means, prove me wrong, I guess. That's what I honestly feel like I'm experiencing right now. Anyways, it's difficult to keep going because it's like you are waking up to the reality of where you're at, and it's difficult, especially as you're getting healthier. You just, I've been experiencing that a lot lately. It's really hard. Okay. It wasn't until her son was born that she decided to make a lifestyle change. Instead of focusing on weight loss, Selby began to concentrate on wellness. I realized that I had to start accepting my body and learning to love it. I shifted my intention, focusing on eating well to feel good about myself and have more energy. So that's interesting to me. Because again, there's two ways of looking at it. There's, I'm no longer going to focus on the weight itself, which I do agree with. But if you're not happy with your body, I don't know. Do you guys think somebody who's super morbidly obese or morbidly obese should be happy with their body? Let me know what you think. It's a difficult question, right? I think it's one that people definitely debate a lot within fat acceptance spaces, both on anti and pro FA sides, where a lot of people say, like, you have to love yourself and blah, blah, blah. I do think you have to love your body, but I don't think you have to necessarily feel positively about your body or proud of your body or any of these things. I think it's okay in certain circumstances to feel shame about your body. At least that's what I tell myself, because again, I'm not going to do this love and light bullshit. I am feeling ashamed. Period. And I think it's just it's a part of my journey to getting healthier. Okay. So I just wonder how honest she's being with herself, or if she's just getting less healthy. And so she's just like, I'd be interested to see how she acted in other areas of her life. That's something that I would be interested to see. Because I know, like, with a lot of the FAs on TikTok and stuff, they act really crazy. They dress crazy, they have crazy hair, right? Their behavior is unhinged. And I've done things like that in my life, like where I remember in 2020, I shaved my head. It was crazy. It looked like a total Britney Spears moment breakdown, and I was having a mental breakdown. And so it's like, as I was like, literally my health was just collapsing in 2020. And I did really strange things. I get into fights with people a lot. I would do a lot of the stuff. I troll a lot. I was a major troll. Over a lot of my 20s online and stuff. And it's like, I never got anywhere, and I don't know. I don't know that being shameless helped me looking back. I think it helped me in the sense that, like, I kind of discovered the real limits, I guess. And I learned a lot by not having any status at all. I learned a lot about other people because people were very honest with me because I wasn't shit. Okay, let's continue. I'm sorry, I'm kind of dumping on here, but I'm telling you, there's a reason I'm reading this article. Like, I'm relating to it as well, Okay. So I'm having the opposite feeling. I'm not accepting my body and I'm not learning to love it. I'm kind of feeling embarrassed, not just about my body, but about a lot of things. And it makes me feel depressed. It took several years for Shelby to learn. It took several years for Shelby, I'm guessing, to learn how to love and accept herself, and she acknowledges the barriers our culture has, barriers which damage and shame women. Society gives us messages that we are not okay as we are. It's hard to recognize these messages because it's the cultural water we swim in, which makes us believe it's the truth, she says. Now, this is something that's interesting to me just because I do wonder, is it possible that we swim more within our own biochemistry, hormone water than societal water? Are they interacting? You know what I'm saying? Let me know, any women who are watching, do you constantly feel shamed all the time by everybody in society, or is it more so that you feel shame about your body, yourself? Because I do think a lot of people within this movement, they don't acknowledge either side. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't acknowledge the internal struggle. And I just don't think gaslighting yourself into thinking your body is amazing even though you hated your body, or doing kind of like the other side of the equation, like a lot of weight loss channels and stuff acting as if weight loss is purely happy, love, and light and just amazing. I don't know if that's helpful either, right? I don't know. I receive lurid stares and actual comments about my body. Walking down the street, I hear men whistling or say, "I'd like a piece of that," as if I wasn't a human, but some object to be had. Okay, she's saying she received that kind of comment when she had lost weight, or what? Because then that's kind of like advocating for gaining weight to sort of reduce temptation of men, I guess, which is weirdly fundamentalist, isn't it? It's very interesting how the far left and the far right can come to very similar conclusions on things that I don't agree with. I don't agree with that at all. I think it is a terrible thing to make yourself bigger and unhealthy and all this stuff just to reduce temptation of a man. I don't support that. Pursuing weight loss can change your brain chemicals, okay? Kelsey Latimer, PhD, a clinical psychologist at the Center for Discovery, an inpatient and outpatient treatment program for ED recovery, says that solely focusing on weight loss can damage our well-being. On a psychological level, there's a certain feeling of success that our culture sets us up to feel when we see the number on the scale go down. Unfortunately, no one tells us what to do when that stops, which can create a vicious cycle of not feeling good enough. Okay, so this is an interesting statement because I'm going to just offer a different way of looking at it. Is it the number on the scale that makes you feel not good enough, or is it the fact that it's not going down a sign that certain hormones have shifted and those hormones are affecting how you feel about yourself? So is it possible that the plateau is connected to the feelings and not the act of pursuing weight loss? That's what I wonder, because that seems to be what I've experienced. So I don't know. I'm just trying to offer a different perspective. Latimer adds that most people aren't aware that dieting limits the happy chemicals in our brain, which can affect our mood. Are you going to say what they are? And for some individuals, losing weight becomes an obsession or an addiction, straining one's personal relationships and psychological health. Okay, this is very, very bad writing. I'm just going to say to the author, this is terrible. So you really are not giving anything so far. Let's see if they say. I don't think they're going to give any specifics. I myself can offer a possibility of a specific in the form of serotonin. This article isn't offering anything. And this is the thing that I cannot stand about these people. They have no solutions. They don't care about us. They don't care about fat people. They do not care. Why aren't you advocating for some type of progress in this area? Why aren't you arguing for a type of research? Why aren't you offering something? You're not offering anything. It's so, oh my gosh. Like, again, I feel my own self-inhibitions stopping me from really going off. But that kind of stuff really makes me mad. Because there's no depth. Nothing. Happy chemicals. What does that mean? What is the happy chemical? Like, I don't know. Do you guys understand how frustrating it is to be a fat person or to be somebody who is struggling with their weight, who is struggling for answers, trying to figure things out, and you have this type of stuff to read? Happy chemicals. What does that mean? It's like, gosh, terrible. And they make it all social. Look at this. There's no physical help, no physical discussion, nothing. Okay, I'm not going to read that again. When Leanda Ludwig, 66, of San Diego, California, was in her 20s, she fell into the trap of reaching for the thin ideal. Seeing images of the thin model Twiggy convinced me that I needed to be thinner in order to feel attractive, she says. Okay, this is something very different than somebody who's morbidly obese or super morbidly obese or overweight, obese in general, pursuing weight loss. Somebody that is at a normal body weight and maybe tries to work out and do this type of stuff, and they just can't get their body to look a certain way because maybe they really aren't built that way. That's a totally different thing. And I'm very sick of this being conflated with bigger health issues and other health problems. And this is why I believe they want to make obese a slur, because they don't want any kind of delineation or medical help for people who are obese. They don't want this issue to be discussed in a way that can be helpful. They don't want there to be a difference between somebody who's trying to lose 5 pounds to look like Twiggy and somebody who is 200 pounds overweight. They don't want there to be a difference. It's incredibly, incredibly evil. I don't know what else to say. Like, this is a life and death thing. You know, it's just awful. I cannot tolerate it. I just can't. Like, this is so manipulative. So you're trying to compare a restrictive ED to being morbidly obese or being actually overweight. Sickening. So you're using somebody that suffered with a restrictive ED for your agenda. That's what this article is doing. She began starving herself, eating only yogurt for breakfast and lunch, and increased her daily exercise routine by adding an aerobics class. However, weight loss didn't make Ludwig feel like a beautiful model. It made her miserable. I was caught in a cycle of thinking something was wrong with me. Messages of weight loss are so heavily woven into our culture, we often think of the scale as a sign of success. The pursuit of thinness hurts our culture because it instills the idea that the size of one's body is what makes them valuable, which distracts us from finding and pursuing our potential in life, says Jenna Doak, a certified personal trainer who promotes body positive fitness on her Instagram page. See, this is just like, I don't know. I'm just going to say something really shady, okay? And we're going to have to deal with it because I'm a little bit on one tonight. And this article is really making me mad. For people who often talk about how evil capitalism is, I can't think of something more capitalistic than acting as if a human is more or less valuable, like almost like a commodity, or pushing the idea that everybody feels that way. I don't feel that way. I have value at any size. I think anybody with a functioning brain cell doesn't think of themselves, oh my gosh, doesn't think of themselves that way. There are people that have serious self-esteem issues, maybe people that are very, very people-pleasing. I do not relate at all. I'm sorry, I'm not a people-pleaser. I'm just not. So I have a really hard time relating to people like that. But maybe there are people like that who do have a brain cell, do have brain cells, but they have other issues where they feel that they're more or less valuable. But not everybody feels that way. I have never felt that way. I have never felt like I have less value as a human being because I'm fat. I have just felt very sick, very unhealthy. I felt like I don't fit into things. I felt like I've struggled with dating. I felt like I have struggled to breathe at times. I felt like I have struggled to get better. I have struggled through years of gaslighting, years of diets not telling me the right things, years of fitness people lying to me, years of people like this also lying to me. That's what I have dealt with. I've never felt less valuable. I have just felt extremely let down by how this issue has been dealt with for my entire life. And like I said, it's to the point where I will do anything to make sure that future generations don't go through what mine did with this issue. It has just been horrible, and it continues. It continues to be horrible. This is not helpful. Jenna, this isn't helpful. You're not helping anybody. You are hurting people. You're hurting people. This culture can cause us to lavish with praise when a loved one drops a few pounds. There's nothing wrong with that. I will tell you guys, I really appreciate it when you guys encourage me because it's hard. It is not easy to do. It's very obvious that I'm doing it intentionally. It's very difficult. It's taxing on a mental level. It's taxing on a physical level. It's difficult. And I do think we deserve praise for fixing this issue, for getting healthier. I think people who do this do deserve praise, absolutely. And screw you guys for trying to take that away. Because sometimes that support is all we have, and we don't have a lot of, fat people in general don't always have a lot of support. So if you're supportive of that kind of thing, it's really helpful. I will say that. And just use your eyes. I mean, if somebody is already thin and they're obsessed with losing more and more weight, obviously don't congratulate that. But if somebody's huge and they're losing weight, I don't think there's anything wrong with congratulating it. I just don't. It's hard. On weight loss and harassment. Cindy's weight had always fluctuated, but in college, she unintentionally lost 20 pounds. Friends and family members complimented her on the weight loss, which made it seem like it was an achievement. It made me feel like my entire worth came down to my waist size, she says. Name change at the request of the interviewee to protect her identity. Okay. Okay, this is just I don't even know. I'm just going to let her be a young college student and be stupid. Because that's a very stupid thing to say. It's a very stupid thing to think. But I understand that people do not have perspective at 21 or 20 or 19. I get it. But it's a very stupid thing to say and think. Her weight loss also brought a lot of unwanted attention from men. Again, we're going into that fundamentalist, gain the weight to temper down men's lust. Very interesting. Something I do not agree with at all. And I'm not saying I agree with being a huge hoe and all this stuff. I don't. I'm a Christian. I don't agree with that. But that doesn't mean that you have to dampen your light and try to make yourself ugly because other men or because men are crazy. That is wrong. The Bible says, be a light on a hill. If you have a gift, share it. If you're a beautiful person, be beautiful. It's one of the things you have to offer the world. Not the only thing, but don't make yourself ugly just because of that. Again, it's weird how the far left is so similar to the far right. But it's just crazy to me. That's so weird to me. I experienced street harassment multiple times a day. She says the harassment was so awful that Cindy became incredibly anxious and feared going outside or attending social gatherings. This is a totally separate issue. This is a totally separate conversation. I don't agree with that either, obviously, but this is a completely different topic. This has nothing to do with your health, nothing to do with being of a healthy weight. This is a total gaslight. Once again, I don't know if gaslight is the right term, but it's a red herring. It's something that they're using to distract from the actual issue at hand. And also, it's very fundamentalist, I will say. I received lurid stares and actual comments about my body. Walking down the street, I'd hear men whistling or say, "I'd like a piece of that," as if I wasn't a human, but some object to be had. To cope with the unwanted attention and the anxiety that came with it, Cindy began dressing in baggier clothes so that she wouldn't show too much skin. While she confided in friends about the harassment, she never saw a therapist. Sometimes I used food and alcohol as a way to stuff down my fears and anxieties, but eventually gaining back the weight seemed to be the only trick that worked. It was a way to keep myself safe from unwanted actual attention. That is seriously fucked up. I am just saying. And is this article advocating for that? Like, wow. Yeah, but I'm sure they care about women, you know? Totally. The pressure of weight loss can also affect men. Despite what many of us believe, dieting isn't something that only hurts women, it also impacts men. This ought to be rich. In fact, according to the National Eating Disorders Association, at some point in their lives, as many as 10 million American men suffer from an ED. And how many of those are BED, which is one of the most ignored mental health issues in this country, even though it's probably definitely, I would say, it's very likely that it is the most common ED and is one of the least talked about. Studies also show that men have body image insecurities and may feel badly about themselves after viewing images of the stereotypical fit and muscular male on television. 10 years ago, do you see this weird, okay, am I the only one that sees this very bizarre pseudo-fundamentalist view of you have to cover up, you have to stop, you have to do this, blah, 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 because you're hurting somebody else by being your best self, or you're causing lust, or you're causing jealousy, you're causing someone else to sin. Isn't that sick? That is so weird. If you feel that jealous over seeing somebody in shape, then do something about it. That's just stupid. Or don't care and just appreciate it on someone else. I don't know. Or maybe both. Maybe work on it yourself and don't care. It's just stupid. This argument is so dumb. 10 years ago, Bill Fish, 40, a certified sleep science coach in Cincinnati, Ohio, struggled with depression. An antidepressant caused him to gain a few pounds. How much is a few pounds? And also, how long does he need to stay on it? It's an open question, right? Is this something you're just supposed to take the rest of your life? Because I have questions about that. But anyways, the medication hurt my metabolism. Looking at old photos of myself, I knew it was time to make a change, says Fish. Like many people who embark on a weight loss plan, he enjoyed the challenge of being able to lose weight and fit into his old clothes. Fish's weight had affected his self-confidence, and he imagined that by losing weight, he'd feel more confident spending time at the swimming pool and wouldn't avoid seeing a doctor for his yearly physical. He eventually lost weight, although his experience post-weight loss sheds a light to Selby's points about the pressure, mistreatment, and expectations society places on women. For Fish, his weight loss affected his golf game with his son and took him of the bonding moment. What? Okay, this person did not, I don't know if I'm reading this wrong or if they didn't edit it that great. For Fish, his weight loss affected his golf game with his sons and took him of the bonding moment. Okay? With my game struggling, my tendency is to focus on that negative aspect instead of cherishing the time with my sons, he says. I've learned to absorb more needling from my 12-year-old after a bad shot. I don't know what that means. I'm losing touch. I'm sorry. I'm confused. Supporters of the movement, Health at Every Size, focus on loving and accepting their bodies and exercising for joy, not weight loss. However, the post-effects of weight loss do still detrimentally affect men. In 2016, actor Matt McGorry wrote an essay for Today opening up about his body insecurities, even during his bodybuilding period. Okay, this is Matt McGorry. 1, when I was training for those bodybuilding competitions, I was miserable. One of the big draws for me was that this misery allowed me to test my will and self-determination. And yet, when I stopped competing, I couldn't help but separate my misery from what I look like. Okay. I don't know. I mean, the thing about bodybuilding is it's not necessarily sustainable, you know? And again, it's not comparable to the other issues at hand here. 2, logically, I understood that in order to look like what I used to look like, I'd have to do things I never wanted to do again, but I couldn't help but mourn not looking like that. Okay, I don't know. That's a weird thing. Like, I don't see that as being that big of a deal, I guess. Or I just feel like maybe there's another way, like, or maybe you could have something similar to that just by making certain changes. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's a gray area there. That's what I would say. We have the power to change the cultural narrative around weight loss. Yes, we do. And we're trying. And not in the way that you want it to be changed. Even though dieting has many downsides, there's a lot society can do to support healthier mindsets around weight loss. In order to flip the script on how we view health, wellness, and body weight, we need to speak out against these damaging beliefs. What damaging beliefs? To help create a supportive community, Bacon started a movement called Health at Every Size, with a website where people can sign a pledge declaring their commitment to honoring Health at Every Size values of respect, critical awareness, and compassionate self-care. Health at Every Size supporters also focus on loving and accepting their bodies and exercising for joy, not weight loss. Individuals who live by these principles seek to celebrate, not shame, body diversity. They also challenge the thin ideal and other inaccurate messages about weight and body image. Okay. You have to at least, I'm not one to be like, everything must be cited all the time, but I need some kind of an argument. Like, why is it inaccurate? Why is it unhealthy? I don't feel like the argument was strong. Like, I needed something there after that because I don't agree with you. I'm not swayed at all. Like, you didn't say anything, really. We need to offer cultural support and bonding over how difficult it is to live in a world of judgment, says Bacon. She adds, the more we can recognize this cultural problem, the less dependent we become on how those messages define us. Again, I think that there are a lot of uses to shame, particularly within the brain. Like I said, my relationships are improving drastically in my life, possibly even with my audience, possibly even with all this stuff. Like, I have more self-control. I don't overeat. I don't do this kind of stuff because I have these feelings of like shame and not wanting to just go off the rails. Like, I have a feeling of self-control. Don't you think it's a problem if people in society don't have any self-control at all? Like, I feel like that would be more of a problem, in my opinion, but I digress. That was it. That was crazy. That was definitely, I would say, much worse than I thought. It was such a huge distraction from the overall issue. It provided no help, no answers, no future questions. It was just, here's the narrative, eat it up. Now shut the fuck up and stop asking about it and just be fat. That's basically what she said. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to die. I don't want to suffer through this stuff. So I'm not listening to her. I don't think you should either. However, it doesn't mean that it makes sense or anything to not talk about the negatives of weight loss. But it certainly doesn't make sense to talk about the negatives of weight loss in the way that this article did. It's completely unhelpful in every single way. And that's how I feel about all these FAs. They are very, very unhelpful, period. Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it. Let me know what you think of this video. It's a little different for sure. Or I feel different and I feel awkward. So I don't know. I feel shame. Shame, shame, shame. I'm like that girl in Game of Thrones. That's how I feel right now. And I'm just kidding. But anyways, I don't know anything about that show, so whatever. But I do remember that scene. I will talk to you guys later after I go get stuff thrown at me and I get shamed publicly in the streets all day, every day. But I'll see you soon. Have a good rest of your day, night, whatever. Bye, y'all.